are currently in the little village Viken in northern Skåne to change the mast on the boat. Last week we made the preparations and then unstepped the mast.
So today I'm removing the aft winch that we have here on the aft deck. We're going to have a new winch for the outhaul line for the new mast, because we're having a furling mast. So I'm going to start removing the old winch, and hopefully here at the aft head there's a lamp in the roof, and I think that the bolts for that winch sits underneath that lamp. So fingers crossed, wish me luck. Yes, I was lucky. Here's all the bolts for the winch on the aft deck. So now I don't have to remove the inner ceiling here. So the new winch that we will have here on the aft deck, it's for the outhaul line for the mainsail. And that line will lead through this pipe that I prepared in Malin before. So the line comes here from the mast, and I'm going to put some foot blocks here on deck to lead that line into the pipe down here. It's not the perfect time of the year that we have chosen to do this job, but that's just how it is.
Took a walk with Vera. She's asleep now, and I'm just sitting here and soaking up the autumn sun rays.
So this is the new winch that we will use for the outhaul line for the mainsail, and as you can see, it's an electrical winch. This winch has the same base diameter as the old one, so it will be a pretty easy fit. I only have to take out some extra holes inside in the roof because the pattern is a bit different on this one compared to the old one. And then of course I need to pull through these cables. This winch is a part of Selden's SMF system, synchronized main furling, and I will tell you more about that later, but in simple terms, this winch will talk to the electrical motor in the mast when you pull the sail out. So I'm just putting some plugs in the old holes. I could reuse one hole. Typical. Everything looks good. The bolts are long enough, and I will put some washers, large washers on the inside here, and then I will fill the cable hole with the epoxy and I'll put sealant from the top. So I think we're ready to mount the winch now. Är det bra? Nästa får du skruva på, Malin.
Okej. That's a very shiny winch.
It is. And now it's mounted. So now I only have to do the electrical part down in the boat with the cables. But this looks very nice. So the line will come out from here. Couple of turns. And it will feed into the cockpit like this, hopefully. But you can always adjust this later. Cables on a boat can be a real challenge. But in this case it seems to be pretty straightforward. So as you can see, these cables for the winch, they're pretty thin. And that's because the winch runs on 42 volts. So these cables will go to a DC converter that I will mount somewhere around the navigation area. That converts the voltage from the batteries, 24 volts, to 42. And as you might know, when you have a higher voltage, you can have thinner cables. I finished removing the hydraulic backstay tensioner and the boom bang, and luckily without getting any oil on the teak deck. Wow. So Johan has been really kind to us. Let us borrow this car during the time we are here in Viken. Makes everything a lot easier.
The next day we were driving to Gothenburg with Håkan to drop off the hydraulics and to make a visit at a very interesting place.
So we're at the rigging shop here in Göteborg to drop off the hydraulics for service.
The car ride went really fast actually, but I forgot that we were already like an hour north of Malmö, our hometown, where we usually start from, so we gained like an hour. So after we've dropped off the hydraulic here, we will drive to the Selden headquarters. That's right, we could join Håkan on his visit to Selden factory, and now we were going to see our new mast as it's being built.
This is Andreas, and he's the guy who has done the specification for the mast. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm the sales area manager for Sweden and Norway, so I'm working with Håkan, who is my dealer in this case.
Yeah, all right. And this is Jonas, and you're building the whole mast, right? Or
yeah.
You're responsible for all the practical parts of the mast.
Yes,
yeah.
And sometimes rigging.
Is there much more to do on the mast?
We have to fix the sealing, because you have a keel step mast, and we need to seal it so you don't get all the water in the boat.
Oh, at deck level?
Yeah. And after that we will put on the very short piece to make the mast a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So that's the additional work.
Mm-hmm.
Feeding some halyards.
Yeah. So this mast is a furling mast. I talked about that before, but it also has an electrical motor in it.
This is a standard furling gear,
Yeah.
slightly modified for to be electric engine driven,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to have an emergency function. So when everything fails,
So if you have a power failure on the boat,
Yeah.
okay.
you can still operate the mast.
Yeah.
You pull this plug, you put it on in,
Yeah.
and then you start.
Use just a normal winch handle. or
Normal
something.
winch.
Is this a new system that you can have both manual and electric, or has it always been like that?
There has been versions of electric,
Okay.
and this is version 4, I think.
Okay.
3 or 4. This is the muscles inside.
Wow.
Yeah. Looks good. And
So the motor is actually in here,
yeah.
and the motor is inside of an oil bath. So it's sealed, and it's living its life in oil.
And this motor, is it do you know if it's a permanent magnet motor without the carbon brushes?
Without, yes.
So you don't need to
No.
service
No.
the actual motor.
So here you have different mechanical parts inside,
Mm-hmm.
gears and brakes.
This is a part of the concept we call SMF.
Yeah.
So this is the synchronized main furl,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is the system where we synchronize the winch together with the mast motor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this case, because we have one motor in the mast, and then we have the winch on the aft deck, and then we have a computer between those two. So the winch will know what that motor is doing.
Yes. So that's where you communicate. You have the PSU that we call
Yeah.
the power supply unit.
Yeah.
That talks to the MCU for the winch and the MCU for the mast motor.
Yeah.
So they are computer controlled. So the MCU for the mast and the winch motor speaks
Yeah.
with each other,
So they know.
and they decide
Through
when and
this
how
link
to
system.
rotate the winch and the mast motor.
And it all talks through this.
Yeah, like a CAN bus system.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we call
Exactly.
it Selbus.
Yeah, of course.
So now we will have to test run the motor then.
Yeah.
And then inside your boat you have a switch probably for the power.
Yes. That one.
Yeah. That can be an automatic fuse.
Yeah.
Put it on. Then you wait for a while. Because the system has to think. Green light.
Okay.
Good to go.
Yeah.
We're pushing. We have probably a little sign on the boat, in and out.
Mm-hmm.
So we start.
Very good.
And then you will ask the next question. How much does this draw?
Oh, you mean the amperage?
Hmm?
You want me to make a guess? 42 volts, and it's not much because it's not such a long time. So
We will make it simple.
no.
One sequence. You can measure that later
Yeah.
with the amp meter. But
Yeah.
we did that, and we did some calculations. So it's about a LED light, a LED bulb for an hour.
Wow.
So it's not much.
So okay, yeah, that's
One sequence, in,
Yeah,
out,
yeah, that's
2
not-
hours max.
Wow.
And also on the winch.
Yeah.
So it doesn't draw so much.
But after it's been used, it goes down to sleep mode. So then it's like minimal
Yeah.
usage.
Yeah.
So
So going back to the ceiling at deck level, how do you do that? I guess it's somewhere around here, right?
yeah, probably easiest to explain the aft part. Obviously we have some cables going through the mast and coming down out inside the boat to be connected to some device.
Yeah.
And to make a proper sealing, we have these 2 foam cushions with, in this case, this is the piece for the cables for the electric motor for the mast.
Okay.
3 holes, 3 cables. So we feed the cables through. We push this piece up here to this line here, which is the deck level,
Yeah.
and then we inject sealant between here
Okay.
through holes here, like a Sikaflex foam.
Sikaflex. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So.
And that cures eventually, and will be inside. So water comes running down the mast and out through holes here.
Yeah.
Drain holes.
Yeah.
And it's the same for the front compartment. So this is the aft compartment where the sail is inside. In the front part is all the halyards, cables, sound insulation. And then we have a mast cover on the outside between the deck ring and the mast.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit more about the actual mast? And I mean, this mast is still a two-spreader mast, like the original mast on the boat.
Yes.
But it's a bit taller now. It's how much was it? It's like 60 centimeters
Yeah,
taller.
so we added a top to make it possible to hoist top hoisted Jennaker or a Code Zero if that's interesting in the future.
Yeah.
That's why we have a double sheet box with a double lead at the top. And you can also use it for like a sail cover or emergency halyard or whatever needed.
We have double tracks on this boat because it's a blue water cruiser, so we need double poles. We have pole lifts so you can guide the cars.
Yeah.
We have a very good deck light, very good steaming light,
Oh,
all LED. We have spinnaker pole lifts, double, one for each.
Yeah.
We have on the side of the mast, obviously, we have the fittings for the standing rigging. So this is the intermediate going up to the second spreader. Spreader fittings, bolt through, bolted into the sail compartment with a special type of bolt, so it doesn't ruin the sail.
Yeah.
Double box again for staysail and staysail cover. Staysail fitting. Very sturdy. Hard to pull out of the mast.
Yeah, definitely.
Also with a loop to prevent any halyards to get
Oh, that's
stuck
what
in
it's
between.
for.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Runner fittings to make up for the staysail.
How important is that?
The mast won't fall down,
Oh.
but you can trim with it.
Yeah.
We have Genoa 1 and 2 box here for the halyards. And all the halyards in this case, thanks to Andreas, is color coded, more or less everything.
Yeah.
Can get a bit mixed up when you're coming further down, but then you can see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Up here you probably won't see it.
Yeah.
Cap shroud fittings. We have spinnaker 1 and 2 here with a halyard box. The sheaves have bushings inside
Okay.
for the load.
So the main reason that you want to have like a, I guess you always call it 9/10 rig nowadays, even if it's not a 9/10.
You have 7, 8, 9, 10,
Oh,
19,
yeah.
20.
Well, like a small fraction.
Fractional rig.
rig.
Yeah.
The main reason is because you want to have this separation for the if you're using like a
I mean,
Jennaker.
It's honestly it depends on the customer. If the customer wants a classic rig as it was before with a masthead, then of course we will do a masthead.
Yeah.
But if you're into the idea of buying a new rig and you have the possibility to change the sail dimensions and that kind of stuff, I mean it's a good idea to be able to hoist the top Jennaker or Code Zero or
Yeah, so it doesn't interfere with the
exactly.
You know, yeah.
Coming up to the top, we have the luff extrusion inside for the mainsail is attached through via a swivel up here, which is hooked onto the top to the headbox. So the furling unit is not actually standing up in something; it's hanging and it's ball beared up and down.
But what's also good to know is the distance between the forestay fitting and the Genoa box.
Yeah.
Because maybe you've seen on older rigs that you have this same
Yeah.
kind of lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when we do this from factory, we actually make the separation needed
to
for a
get
furlex unit.
for the angle.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Very
So
important.
this has the
Yeah.
correct angle from the beginning instead of needing this extra lead below.
Because you get this type. If you buy a furlex system,
Yes.
you will get these.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because then you don't know what mast it will be fitted on.
Exactly.
Okay.
But when we all new rigs we produce
Yeah.
have this measure as a standard.
Okay.
If you're not a racing sailor and you specifically want to have the halyard box a bit further up.
Yeah. Okay.
One
that's
other
good.
thing that can be stressed a lot of times is that always throw your spinnaker halyards around the spreaders, the
Uh-huh.
top spreader.
Yeah.
So it's parked behind the
Behind.
spreader,
Okay.
so it won't get caught up in the furling system.
Yeah.
Because you stand there, you winch away,
Yeah.
and then it stops.
And you don't
What's
look up.
is it a halyard wrap or is it a spinnaker halyard or what is it
Yeah.
that has jammed the furlex?
Yeah.
So always throw the spinnaker halyards around the spreaders.
And here you also can see the need of this loop. So for example, it will prevent it from
Yeah. Snagging.
get stuck.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't have this, it could get stuck in between.
Yeah.
So the cables go inside and go in through conduits inside, and
Are those in the extrusion or is it like a?
yeah, we can
Pipe.
see them from the bottom a bit.
Yeah.
It's plastic extrusions going all the way. Some manufacturers don't have any protection at all for cables; they're just inside, so
But won't they bang against the sides?
they will
Okay.
they will keep you awake. So every
Okay.
3-4 meters there is a cushion inside,
Okay. All the way.
preventing the halyards from slamming and cables from
Okay.
moving around. So
Yeah. So now we have seen the whole mast. It's close to 21 meters, right? The
yes.
mast extrusion.
And in general, how long does it take for you to make?
That's a company secret, you know.
Oh
No,
yeah.
the regular.
Are we talking weeks?
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, we're
weeks,
talking
several
about a
weeks.
week on a mast like this.
And Selden, I read somewhere you build masts up to 80-foot boats.
Yeah,
boats?
we can do.
Yeah.
So recently we actually delivered a, I think it was 33 meters. It's an Oyster 745,
Oh yeah. That's a big
which is the longest mast we've delivered so far.
Okay.
This cutout here is from a drawing. It's called PS something digits,
Yeah.
3 numbers. In that drawing, there is a specification for how we should grind this
Okay.
and file this.
Yeah.
To
So-
which softness and which radius and everything. So
And I
it's
guess in this case, because this is a hole that you might.
put your hand in.
Yeah. So it should be soft on the
So
inside
it's
as
not
well.
so critical here.
No.
It's a hole. When we did it old school, we make a hole and we take a saw and cut out the hole.
Yeah.
And we grind it off roughly. And then we put this on.
But still, every hole with a bracket as well are grinded.
Oh, they
Yeah.
are. Okay.
Yeah.
But there
Very
are
nice.
another level maybe on
Yeah.
it. So it's not the maximum level because these holes they are obviously smoother than this hole
Mm.
because that's covered with
Yeah.
some other fitting. Yeah, there are a lot of details.
Definitely. A lot of details.
Yeah, it's more than a piece of stick standing on your boat.
Aren't you worried when you're working on a piece like this and you're almost done and you're okay? Now we're going to drill the last hole, and oh shit!
No,
It was
I
on the wrong
was,
place.
I was,
because it's there's so much.
but
work.
I've grown up. I'm grown up now. So now I'm pretty confident.
Yeah.
Of course, I make mistakes,
Yeah.
but as when you're a builder or a builder of any kind,
Yeah.
you're not good enough until you learn to handle your mistakes.
No, of course.
It's the same with sailing.
Well, but it looks very nice. The mast. It's a piece of art.
Don't know if you can see it on camera, but it says K23-F286- a number and a number.
So this is specific for just our mast.
This
Yes.
is this mast.
The serial number for.
Yes.
This mast is keel stepped. It's 2 spreaders. It's fractional.
Okay. Yeah.
It's the furling section. It's the 286 to 86 millimeters
Yeah.
lengthwise with this specification number. This
So-
number is unique.
As you see, that number
Yeah.
is the same as this number.
Yeah.
So if I search our system for that last piece of number, I will get the specification.
Oh, yeah.
And then you also have the last 8 digits number, I think it is. That gives you this mast,
The production
Yeah.
the
number.
exact mast. So then we can see when the exact production date
And
is.
who built it. When your socks are wet and the mast is leaking,
Yeah.
you call someone here. Andrea says, what happened?
And I know who to blame. So.
Yeah. Good to know. No, but it's perfect. So another owner maybe in 20 years time they
Yeah.
can call Selden and you will
Yeah.
have this on record and you can see exactly what
This is
bracket
very.
is sitting here and what to replace it with. Yeah.
So if you have any questions regarding your mast, make sure to have the mast ID number before you talk to your local rigger.
Okay.
Then it's easier for the rigger to talk to us,
Yeah.
and we can supply them with all details needed.
Before driving back, we got a little tour of the factory that has been here since the 70s. So now we're in the hall where they have the CNC machine that cuts out the holes in the masts. So there are a lot of masts in here. Are these mast extrusions that are waiting to be cut,
Yeah, so
or
this
they are
is-
ready?
These are straight from our supplier, so they're like packed together.
Yeah.
And then, for example, here you see the conventional masts. So what we do next is that we put them into the CNC machine, this full-length machine, and they do all the cutouts for nose fittings, all the halyard exits, for example. And that's a computer-written program before.
How long does it take to do like a whole mast for the machine?
I don't have the exact time, but it can be from an hour up to a little bit more.
Okay, yeah, so quite some time.
Some pretty massive profiles here. How many masts do you produce here in Gothenburg approximately per year?
I don't have the number from the Gothenburg factory, but if you look at the worldwide number, we produce around 3,000 yacht masts, and that's divided on like 60% furling masts and 40 conventional masts. We
Okay.
produce more furling masts than conventional.
Okay.
And then we also add up the dinghy masts and the carbon masts. So if you count all masts we produce, we do around like 12,000 a year.
Okay. You're the biggest mast manufacturer for boats
For
under 80
cruising.
for
Yeah,
cruising.
exactly. So we say we're the biggest mast manufacturer for like cruising yachts and standard boats, not racing projects.
So it was a really fun and interesting day at Selden's factory, and we also got to drop off the hydraulics and to see our new mast. That was so fun. It's big. We're really excited to get the mast to the boat and mount it, get the next phase of the mast job started. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the episode and maybe you learned something new about the work behind that stick that stands on a sailboat.